A few weeks ago, I was visiting a church in North America. And I love visiting a church when, once in a while, I love visiting the church when I don't have to preach. I don't have to do anything but just be a church member and sit there and talk to the people and enjoy the worship service. And in this particular Sabbath, if you follow your Sabbath school quarterly, the lesson was about being lights in the world. That we are lights. We are supposed to be lights in the world. A topic I love. Not just being lights on Sabbath morning at church when everyone seems to be holy, but during the week in the world, in our work, for those who don't work for the church, in their studies, in whatever we do. And I was excited to say, I want to participate or sit in a class and enjoy the topic. Now, I got there, somebody stopped me, we were talking. So when I got to my class, the class had already started. And I sat there excited, thinking, what can we discuss about being lights in the world? But the class and the teacher were talking about vaccines, and government mandates and whatnot. And I thought, am I in the wrong church? Am I in the wrong place today? We are in March. So in this month, it's 6 years already since the pandemic. When in March 2020, the world was closed and so forth and so on. And in some churches, hopefully not in this region, but certainly in North America, people and brothers and sisters, some of them haven't moved on. They're still talking and arguing about vaccination and whatnot, instead of focusing on, in this case, a wonderful topic of the Sabbath school lesson. And maybe in this region that's not a problem, but maybe you have other issues that can distract you from what is important and what is real and what God expects from us. There's a saying that several leaders have mentioned that phrase more than once, that says that when fishermen do not fish, they start fighting each other. If you're a fisherman and you have a boat and you have the equipment and you go out at sea, you're supposed to fish. Because if you don't, it's not a fishing trip, it's a picnic, and you will end up starving, and you will end up really bored, and you will end up fighting each other. So, a church that skips mission, that doesn't do mission, that is lazy to get engaged and involved in mission, starts fighting about things that might not be important. Ellen G. White wrote in an article, 1899, she says, a working church will ever be a growing church. They will ever find a stimulus and a tonic in trying to help others, and in doing it, they will be strengthened and encouraged. When you are working, when you are doing mission, you get strengthened and encouraged. On the other hand, The opposite is also true. And she adds, Satan is now seeking to hold God's people in a state of inactivity to keep them from acting their part in spreading the truth. He wants to hold God's people in a state of inactivity. Because if we don't do what we are supposed to do, then it's much easier to get distracted, to start fighting about things that are not important. Now, when we talk about doing mission, there are many questions and people who will present one thing or the other, one extreme or the other, or two different possibilities. Some people say, oh, mission should be local. The local church that's mission. That's what is most important. Others say, well, if you're going to do mission, short-term impact, short-term visits, short-term projects are not valid. You need, a long time to build relationships, to stay for years, to keep growing. So mission is only when you have a long-term commitment, they say. And then, of course, the big discussion is mission social outreach or evangelism. In other words, and I'm editing myself here, does it count when mission is just social outreach or when it's just evangelism? And they try and they talk about those differences and try to put them one against the other. I think, and this is my opinion, this is not official, as far as I know, official policy of the World Church or Adventist Review or anything, but I think, like the phrase in English, the more the merrier. I think we need local mission, regional mission, worldwide mission, social outreach initiative, evangelism initiative. It's a package. And I believe, if I read correctly, if I perceive correctly what is going on, and the administration of the World Church and the new administration, that they are going that way. We need church workers. We need volunteers, lay people, lay supporting ministries, official entities of the church. We need the youth. We need women. We need pastors. We need engineers. We need everyone doing mission and serving and being active in mission. Now, Ellen G. White, she seemed to have the same discussion in her days. And she says there's an article she writes about mission, and she writes, God designs that we should spread abroad and our missionary labor be extended over as much ground as we can possibly occupy to advantage, going in every direction to raise up new companies. So she's saying we need to extend. We need to go abroad. We need to do mission abroad. But in the same article, very same article, she writes, as long as churches rely upon laborers from abroad to strengthen and encourage their faith, they will not become strong in themselves. They should be instructed that their strength will increase in proportion to their personal efforts. So she's writing, she's saying, well, we need to go abroad, we need to extend, we need to plant churches, to open new companies, but at the same time, churches they need to be self-sufficient. They need to develop and do local mission and grow. So it's not either or. It's this and that. This plus that. Let me review a few cases related to stories we have shared and posted, news reports in the last few months. Just a sample, very, I mean, we have hundreds of stories, but just a sample, because in a sense, mission will always be local. Mission starts in the local church, and that should never change. And as I travel and I talk to people and I visit different regions of the church, I am glad to report there are many churches doing local mission. This is a photo of a church in northeast Brazil. But it could be anywhere, actually. A local church who opened their doors, who organized a health clinic, who have counselors, who have a nurse, who have physicians, who invites the community, who also offers, especially to mothers, some, haircuts and some activities for children so they can rest and take a break for a few hours. And that's mission. Local churches serving the community, serving their neighbors. Other projects, other initiatives come as a result of circumstances. This is a photo of a local church in Poland, a country with just a few thousand baptized Seventh-day Adventist members. And 4 years ago, almost overnight, those local churches in eastern Poland became centers to receive and to lodge and to accommodate and to support and assist Ukrainians running west, running from the war zone. And in this photo, you see they overnight have to prepare places for people to sleep, for people to rest, for people to recover from the journey. In other countries, and this is a photo I took in Kenya, what people need is water. And so local churches, through ministries such as Maranatha, Volunteers International, and others, are drilling water wells by the church building, on the church grounds. And people from the community can come and for free get the water they need. And that's their mission. And that's the way they connect to the community. Likewise, at the same time, mission is always regional. And here I'm going to preach to the choir because you know the mission in your region much better than I. What I know about you is some reports you send us, some stories we have shared about what you are doing. Last year, I was privileged to attend the ASI, SSD convention in Phuket. And I was so excited to hear stories about lay committed members, lay people who are serving the Lord in different companies, in Malaysia, in Singapore, in Cambodia, here in Thailand, in the Philippines, who serve in government positions, who are being a light in other places outside the church. Recently, we shared a story about this new chapel that was built in the Philippines inside a prison. And, it's a partnership between the prison correctional department and the Adventist church. And they built a chapel for inmates to learn about God and the Bible. That's regional ministry happening right now in this region. And of course, we also share the story how when there was a conflict between Thailand and Cambodia, the church ran to help and assist and support many of the people who had been displaced. The church didn't weigh in, didn't start emphasizing who is right, who is wrong, but there was a problem, and the church, the regional church, assisted many, many people running away from the conflict. And of course, at the same time, mission will always be a worldwide mission because we are called to all the world. And we know that now more than ever, we live in a time when it's from everywhere to everywhere. There are no borders. People from here are serving all around the world, and people from around the world are serving in this region. And also through online initiatives and digital evangelism and whatnot, there are no borders. Everyone is connecting with everyone. This is a project, maybe some of you know it, took place some time ago at Tondano Adventist School, and there was a couple. We shared the story of a couple, a dentist from Costa Rica, Central America, who, with his wife, spent time there serving the community, knowing and doing what they know, that is being a dentist and supporting the community. Last year, I got acquainted with the ministry of this lady. She's the coordinator, refugee coordinator of the NAD, North American Division. Wonderful story. Teresa Lee, I don't know if you know her. She's a country girl. She grew up in a farm in Nebraska. When she was young, she came as a volunteer here to Thailand. And her service, that was many years ago, her service here changed her mind. She had never left the farm in Nebraska. And the service here changed her mind. And she went back eventually. She came for 6 months and she stayed like 5-6 years, something like that. She went back to the United States and she says, I have a burden to help and support the refugees from Cambodia, from Thailand, among the Hmong and the Ming and all the groups. And she eventually married an Adventist pastor who is a Hmong, who is from that group. And together they are serving and they are growing the church and supporting. Now there are more pastors and more people represented across the United States and Canada too from this region. And they're growing the church. And she says, I believe God uses migration to grow his church, to share the message, to spread the message. God uses migration. Finally, recently we shared, and this initiative, the Ideathon, the groups who were, this was in the division, I think, in the Philippines. And, Ryan was there. And they were creating, and Ben Thomas was there too. They were creating ideas how to do digital evangelism better, how to do it in a way that is creative, that can help to reach people for God. And this has no borders, believe me. Because, as I said, people from this region are living all around the world, especially in North America, in the US and Canada. So they can get connected and answer questions and study the Bible with people from around the world. Now, the question is, this is the reality, so to say. But this is a leadership conference. So you might say, well, what is my role? What is the role of a leader in this context? What are you supposed to do? And I didn't prepare a slide because it's obvious that if you're a leader in the Adventist church, it's because you are a missionary. You love mission. If you do not, you are in the wrong position and you're in the wrong church. So needless to say, it's a given that if you're a leader, you're a missionary, okay? But then as a leader and as a missionary, what is your role? And I wrote some words here about what I think that should be your role as a leader. Look at these words. A church leader has to be a facilitator of mission. Has to be an enabler. An enabler sometimes is used in a negative, with a negative connotation, but in a positive one too. He has to be an enabler, a promoter, an advocate for mission, a supporter of mission, a cheerleader. Has to be someone that when new ideas are presented, new initiatives and new projects, they need to say, well, we'll pray about it. Maybe we don't have the funds right now, but we are not going to kill it right away. We'll pray about it. We'll seek for ways. We'll seek for an account, like Pastor McDill said, with $100 at least to do it. Because if it comes from God, if that idea comes from the Lord, we cannot run away. And those leaders who are committed to mission are facilitators of mission, are promoters, are supporters, are cheerleaders of mission. You can see here I'm wearing a T-shirt with a word in Hebrew. Maybe these letters are not easy to see. You can see them there. And I know some of you studied Hebrew and know more than me, so help me. What does it say? Who can read that? Well, in Hebrew you read from right to left. So the first letter is anyone knows? It's an H. And then it's an N and another N, final I. So how do you read that? Hineni. Very good. Hineni. Short form for Hineni Ani. A phrase that means, you can find it in the Bible, and it means, here I am. And I wrote it in some other languages. I cannot read the Thai, but I hope it says what it should say. I took it from the Bible. So here I am. Now in English and other languages, I don't know in your language, when you say here I am, you talk about position. Where are you? Here I am. But also you talk about availability. It's like saying, I'm here, I am available. In Hebrew and in the Bible, this is not so much about position. There's other words in modern Hebrew to say, here I am, in a place, but it's about availability. I am available. That's what it means, hineni. Here I am. It signifies more than just physical location. It implies total attentive readiness, often used in deeply committed context. Availability. Now, the question is, who is the one available? So the first thing we think, well, I am, no? Here I am. It's me. It's about me. Now, when you go to the Bible, you find out that actually most of the time that hineni is used is not talking about a person. It's talking about whom? It's talking about God. And let me give you just two examples. Two examples. Isaiah 65. It says, I was sought by those who did not ask for me. I was found by those who did not seek me. I said, Hineni, Hineni, here I am. It's God talking. And God is talking about people, not about people who are searching for truth, and there are many millions that are searching for truth. He's talking about people who are not searching for anything. And God says, I am available to be found by those who did not seek me. I was thinking about this verse yesterday. When we finished, before sunset, I went for a walk around the neighborhood. And you see people praying to their gods and their idols. And others who you don't know, millions walking, streets full of people. Many of them searching for truth. Many are not even searching. But God's promise is that he will be found because he is available. Second example, Isaiah 58, the true fast, a chapter you know very well. What the true fast is. And the Lord say, well, this is the true fast, and explains all that, then gets to verse 9 and says, then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry, and he will say, the Lord will say, Hineni, Hineni, I am available. When? Why? God will be available. Let's read verse 10. Verse 9 and 10. It says, verse 9, when you stop pointing of the finger, speaking wickedness. And instead, if you try to extend your soul to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul, so physical and mental and spiritual support to people, then the Lord will be available. The Lord will say, here I am. This week, a few days ago, a friend sent me, shared with me a message. His mother, old, in an old age, home and a residence for old people. And she was worried and she was upset and crying because she received a video saying that Ellen, with a message from Ellen G. White that nobody knew about, not even the white state. And the message said that Ellen G. White saw that in March 2026, conveniently, right now, and it was found now, the message, many people will be lost and many things will happen in the world and so forth and so on. Supposedly a message from Ellen G. White about March 2026. I'm sorry, but that's speaking wickedness. That is spreading rumors that, some people cannot differentiate. I start believing that. And she got upset. And it's just a made-up AI video that was shared all around the world. The Lord said, stop it. Stop wasting your time. Focus on mission. Extend your soul to the hungry. Satisfy the afflicted soul. And then I will be available. I will say, here I am. Hineni, Hineni. Of course, finally we have the verse we all know about. The experience of prophet Isaiah. When the Lord was looking for someone and called the young prophet, he was not a prophet yet, but he accepted the mission that God gave him, and he said, "Here I am, Hineni, send me." When Ellen G. White writes about this in Prophets and Kings, she writes, "Standing, as it were, in the full light of the divine presence within the inner sanctuary, Isaiah realized that if it left to his own imperfection and inefficiency, he would be utterly unable to accomplish the mission to which he had been called." Isaiah realized that if left to his own imperfection and inefficiency, he would be utterly unable to accomplish the mission. Who are we? Remember, yesterday we were talking about the right attitude, humility, feeling small before God, and even at that moment accepting his call. Who are we that the Lord entrusts us with this wonderful but very, very difficult and challenging mission? Some years ago, I was attending an event, mostly young people. It was not it was a ministry supporting ministry, but it was not an official church event. And someone, the speaker at the moment, a young lady, she said something like this. She says, "We are the ones that when Jesus comes, we'll go and tell the Lord, 'Here, Lord, this is our church, this is your church that we have kept pure for you.'" Wow, 100% confidence. But are we that confident? Can we say that the church depends on whatever we might do in our imperfections and inefficiency? Humility before the Lord. The Lord can use us despite our imperfections and inefficiencies, as he used prophet Isaiah. The key is then availability. And if you forget all that I said, remember this phrase: we are available for mission because God is available to us. Because he is available, we can be available. We said yesterday, because he loves us, we can love other people. We can respond, even imperfectly, to that love. Last statement, and this is the end. Do your best, and God will accept your efforts. Take up the duty lying nearest you and perform it with fidelity, and your work will be wholly acceptable to the Master. I love this. Take up the duty lying nearest you and perform it with fidelity, and your work will be wholly acceptable to the Master. May the Lord help us to be available, to be committed, to be focused on mission, to be facilitators of mission as leaders, and he will bless our efforts. Thank you very much.